Well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. I have yet again, every episode is special. So I once again have another special vehicle to present to you guys. That is the 2005 Acura TL. So yeah, this puppy does. Stupendous. That's how it does. And I expected no less because, if you're new to this channel, welcome. And please consider subscribing if you are new, because I always do like these little in-depth reviews on unique vehicles and also some new cars as well. But this is yet again another Carry Imports review, so that is why I was able to find this pristine condition 2005 Acura TL with like 170 something thousand miles on it, but it still feels brand new. So it's a very rare treat for me to be in these vehicles, and it's a great test to see how these vehicles have aged. So I will definitely be leaving Carry Imports information down in the description box below if you want to take a look at their inventory, which I highly suggest you do because I always come here. Anyway, let's get right into this review. I'm not even going to talk about the looks because this is undisputedly the best looking four-door vehicle ever made. You can argue with me all you want in the comments, but this is definitely one of the best looking four-door cars for sure. All right, so we have that established. Now, the drive. This is what I'm most passionate about. I've driven a couple of older early 2000s vehicles now, some old Benzes, the S500, the LS430 Lexus, and a Cadillac DeVille. Actually, all these vehicles I absolutely loved, and the theme that kept continuing was I really like how they drove. Like, there was a connection that will never ever be replicated in a new vehicle, especially not in the new luxury car market anyway, because new cars keep trying to pull away the feel. But this, not only is this like an older vehicle, but this was like an older Honda Acura. You see what I'm saying? And the difference between this and all the other like kind of big body luxury cars I drove was those are big body luxury cars. They're built for luxury, and they just so happen to drive extremely well. The older Honda Acuras, man, I totally see why the fanboyism is so crazy, because this was where it all started, man. Like, they were so adamant on making really nice, high quality driving vehicles. Driving was a big priority for them, and you can tell when you get behind the wheels of these older Honda Acura vehicles. I've also driven a 2005 Honda Accord with like 200,000 miles on it, as well as like a 2002 Honda Accord as well. And all these vehicles, they're so different from like new vehicles, man. You watch some of my reviews, you kind of understand that, yeah, I'm pretty passionate about these older vehicles. I think you get the point. There's like a feeling that they've been able to capture that newer cars just can't, because this vehicle obviously has, a hydraulic steering rack. It's got a proper suspension, double wishbone up front and a multi-link in the rear. A lot of cars nowadays are strut base in the front and a torsion rear end. So it's a real treat to get behind the wheel of something like this. And even with the 175,000 miles, I'll get to that in a bit, but it still feels absolutely excellent. And I'm about to test out the handling a little bit here. Yeah, not only is the steering absolutely fantastic and direct, but like this chassis is also really excellent as well. Yeah, no, this is just a feeling that will never ever be replicated, not even in a new Honda or Acura. And I was kind of saying this in the beginning, I think I kind of cut myself off. Like, if you're new here, I mean, I've done like pretty much every Acura video out there. Like, I've owned a TSX, a 2010. I've driven the previous gen TSX, and I've driven the new TLX, the 2016 one. I've driven the A-Spec version of that as well. I do like the new TLX. It's a very good car. If you saw that review, I'll post a link up to it. I really do enjoy driving that vehicle. It's a very good car, but again, I keep reiterating this. The newer cars just can't replicate this organic, connected feel that this vehicle can. The precision that this vehicle has from like a hydraulic steering rack is just next level. The brakes also inspire confidence. I'm sure they've been replaced for sure. They feel very good. It feels natural and progressive. That natural feel is just something that I really appreciate. Now let's just test out some of this power here. It gets up to speed so good. Like, the TL only came in a V6, and it generates like 270 horsepower, like 238 pounds-feet of torque. Some people say it makes less. I don't really care what it makes, actually. The point is, it feels really strong. You get up to speed so good, and I love Honda Acura V6s. It is such a treat. The 4-cylinders are good, don't get me wrong, but the V6 just gives you that perfect amount of power, enough to make it feel effortless on the streets, and that's kind of what you want out of a sub, luxury brand. I mean, people are always saying, even back in the day, oh, this is not a BMW competitor, but when you drive one of these cars, you question, why do you need a BMW? Because this is just that good. And that power delivery, it's obviously naturally aspirated. It is so linear, really fantastic feeling, and it sounds good too. That induction sound, love that. I'm about to check that handling one more time. So the other thing that people like to mention with these V6 Honda Acuras is that they're a little bit nose heavy or whatever. Honestly, you would have to really be pushing this thing like 9/10 to even notice that. Out on the street, honestly, you will never ever get that feeling that this vehicle is nose heavy. I honestly think that this is a pretty well balanced vehicle. This vehicle weighs about 3,500 pounds, which really isn't bad considering the fact that it's like a mid-sized luxury car for back in the day. If I can, I will always try and get the V6 if possible. And obviously they did make the 5-speed, or I'm sorry, the 6-speed manuals as well. That's a true unicorn if you can find that, great. This is the 5-speed automatic, but I do really like this because I've always liked the 5-speed automatics that Acura Honda always use, because it's just a great amount of gears to have. There's no gear hunting like there is with the new TLX, like the 8-speed. There's a bit of a lot more gears to jump down for you to get the acceleration you want. This is a little bit more immediate. So that's really fantastic. You always have the power that you need on tap, and that is absolutely superb. And yeah, the ride quality, that is kind of the one spot where it's a bit compromised, because yeah, they went for this really nice driving feel. So it's not going to ride or glide over bumps like you might expect a Lexus LS to do, but honestly, you shouldn't expect that anyway, because it's a good driving vehicle. And it's obviously, this is kind of the problem that companies like Mazda, BMW have. They don't know what to do. Do they cater to the more luxury side of things, or do they focus more in on the driving dynamics? And obviously, early Honda Acura, they're all about that quality driving experience. So that's what they focused on, and that's what you got. And in the new car, the new TLX, you can see that change, obviously, in demographic. They obviously softened the vehicle up a lot more. So the refinement of this isn't going to be perfect, but you can totally live with it. It's completely fine. I find this to be a pretty good blend overall. But I'm just wrapping up this drive real quick. The steering is excellent. I like the brakes. The engine performance is fantastic. You just get a great feel and sensation driving this thing. So that's really great. So with that established, let's go ahead and take a look at this interior now. Okay, well, finally getting inside of the Acura TL. So honestly, this is gonna be real quick because there's not a whole lot going on. I'll actually start up the vehicle here for you. And before we do, here's the key real quick. There's this little dual action thing going on. Got the little fob and the key. So pop that bad boy in. Let's see here. So the gauges have a nice little blue background to them. That's pretty cool, I guess. But let's first of all, let's talk about these seats first. I absolutely love the seats in this vehicle. It is actually one of the best Acura seats, especially for this time, because one of the complaints I had with my own personal TSX, the 2010, was the seats felt kind of rough, especially doing a lot more miles in the vehicle. I didn't really like it, but this has worn in pretty nicely. They're definitely a lot more soft and supple, and even more so than the TSX that I drove of this generation. So that's really nice to see. Another thing, the leather wrapped steering wheel is absolutely stupendous. It's held up extremely well. It's been perfect, actually. It's been stitched together extremely well, and it just feels correct in the hand. It's not super thick, but it's not super thin, although it is more so on the thin side, but I do like it a lot. It gives you a lot of confidence. It's also the right size. Speaking of the leather on the seats itself has aged really well. Obviously, there's a little bit of wrinkling, some very minor tears, but it's really nothing to even complain about. It is actually, I'm really impressed with it, actually. Honda Acura, it's like literally the same quality as Toyota Lexus. Like this, it has an excellent Lexus-like quality in here. I think I maybe heard like one rattle or something like that in the back, but overall the interior is so damn solid, and I love that so much. And these are just really nice, well put together vehicles. You know, same thing with Lexus. You know, this is unlike the German cars. These are really high quality vehicles, so I really appreciate that. No, it's not maybe as attractive looking as like a Benz or something like that, but it's put together well and everything works. There's no stupid check engine lights. There's no nonsense going on. All the electronics still work. So do, you know, the electronic seats, which goes for the passenger seat as well. Other things I really like, the driving position itself is fantastic. You know, when you nail that, you have so much confidence operating a vehicle. So that's excellent. And, you know, getting that proper driving position also helps you get much better visibility out of the vehicle, which is also very good. You know, the actual you know, the glass and all that's much higher up and all that stuff. So you have a lot more glass to work with this vehicle. I will say that the mirrors, the side mirrors, a little bit inadequate. I wish they were a little bit taller. That would have been nice, but no matter, the vehicle itself is very easy to see out of. And this mirror is also really nice too. It's actually pretty big, so you really get a good sense of visibility at the back. So I do like that mirror. Just wish that these side ones were a little bit bigger. Other things that I really like, the front two windows here are auto one touch up and down, so that's good, but the rears are not auto one touch either for the up or down. But that's a small little complaint, not a big deal. You have this kind of interesting texture going on. You have like this, I don't even know what this is. I guess it's like a fake aluminum type of design. Not a big deal, but it looks clean, and all the materials have held up extremely well. Even this leather padding on the door is extremely nice as well. You do have like this traditional shifter, which is fantastic, and you do have a little, you know, manual option right there, but I just like to leave that on auto. 5-speed automatic shifts extremely well on its own, so that's pretty good. No real modes to select. It's just always in a proper mode, so that's good. You do have memory seats as well. You can turn off the traction control here. Your mirror controls are on the side as well. You do have the cruise control options here on the steering wheel, which is fantastic. Very easy to use. I like it when car manufacturers do that. You can operate your volume and you know, change between the channels all from the steering wheel here. Great touches. It is equipped with like the ELS sound system, which you know, which sounds okay. I mean, it's not the best, but it's all right, especially for this generation. You do have this little cassette deck, of course. You can kind of, you know, buy one of those cassette aux cable connection things, so you can kind of work your way around that if you want to connect your phone to it. But obviously no infotainment, of course. So, you know, very simplistic car, not a whole lot to really go wrong, honestly. And I do obviously love how this climate control is just stupid simple to use. As far as, like, you know, cup holders and, you know, space overall, you got a nice big glove box right here, which is absolutely fantastic. The cup holders are excellent. They can really fit big drinks in there for sure. It's really rather deep. This side pocket space is also really nice. Kind of comes out like a Lexus. You can close that up, so you can fit rather large items in there too. So very useful, practical amount of space. Let's go ahead and check out this glove box real quick, because can't forget that. Got your little booklets in there, but not too much space in there because of the books. But with that established, let's go ahead and let's take a look at those rear seats and garage home link as well. It's pretty nice for a 2005 car with the sunroof. Anyway, yeah, back seat. All right, climbing in the back of this bad boy. Wow, if you thought the front seats were soft, dude, these rear seats are like cushion. I don't even know what these are, dude. They're like pillows. They're like 100 times softer than what it is in the front. And yeah, a lot of luxury cars, well, not all, but like, you know, most luxury cars will actually do that. The rear seats will actually be softer than the ones in the front. However, this is just like a crazy noticeable difference. So, you know, comfort is excellent in this vehicle, so I really appreciate that, unlike in the TSX model range. Another little thing I forgot to mention in the front, there is heated seats for both the front you know, driver and passenger, so there is that, but there's nothing for the rear seats though. So, you know, not a big deal, not really tripping over it. But you do have HVAC in the rear, which is nice, and it's just overall nice clean space. And, you know, I'm 5'11". The seat is actually set to my position, much better than the TSX. This is another big advantage for the TL. I have plenty of space here. Yeah, my knees are kind of touching up against the seat, but I can do a very long journey in this vehicle for sure. And obviously the seat comfort really helps with that. So I really do dig this car quite a bit. This is a nice, practical, spacious vehicle with plenty of comfort and, you know, all the little, you know, comfort, convenience features that you'd want, but nothing that, you know, you don't really need. You know what I'm saying? There's no unnecessary nonsense built into this vehicle, so that's just great. And like I mentioned, the quality of this interior space is like near Lexus quality, honestly. Lexus Porsche quality, actually. That's how good these Honda Acura vehicles age. It's just a testament to how well they're put together. I'll just talk about one last thing before we get into the conclusions. The trunk space is absolutely stupendous. The opening is really wide, and just the amount of space that you have is excellent as well. So I really appreciate that. And there's also a spare tire in the back as well, so that's great. I mean, Acuras have always had a great amount of trunk space. Their openings have been really well, but yeah, this is actually one of the reasons why I like Acura so much. They're just really nice, practical, useful vehicles that also happen to drive really great as well. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get into those conclusions. Well, finishing up this review, well, what do I think about the 2005 Acura TL? Well, I think it drives fantastic. I think that engine is excellent, and I really actually like the added comfort aspect that the TL offers over the TSXs. So honestly, after driving this, you know, if you're looking at the older model TSXs, I think you should also consider this TL because it also comes standard with the V6, which I absolutely love. And if you can get it, I would always try and get the V6 in a Honda Acura product because it just pulls so good, it sounds good, and it just makes it for like a proper experience for sure. And it provides you that effortless feel that you want. Obviously, you know how I feel about the way that this thing drives. I mean, like most older vehicles, it drives fantastic, but also this is like that old school mentality that Honda Acura had. This is kind of that generation where they came out with the S2000. I think they even had some ties with McLaren back then. So, you know, this is just a proper driving experience, and that's what Acura Honda wanted. They obviously deviated more to comfort, similar to how BMW did, to cater to more of a broader audience, I suppose. I do like the way new Acuras drive, but you can't get this really nice heavy feel that you get out of this with the hydraulic steering. Obviously the suspension is proper with the double wishbone and the multi-link in the rear. The chassis is fantastic, and I'm sure all the, you know, German fanboys would say that the BMWs and stuff felt better to them or whatever, especially back then. That may be so, but it's just like this is a more of a reliable package, you know what I mean? And their engines are truly fantastic. And also, I didn't mention this, but the fuel economy is going to be absolutely excellent with this as well. Honda Acura obviously known for really good fuel efficiency, so that's something else you can enjoy. However, you do have to put premium in this. The interior has held up just like it would in the Lexus. It is so solid in there, love it. It's a very simplistic design. It's got nice little features like heated seats, of course, and this particular one did have the ELS sound system, but I loved how the rear seats felt like cushions basically, so your occupants are gonna pretty much love riding in this vehicle as well, so that's something to note. Plenty of space, practicality, it just makes for an excellent all-rounder vehicle. But most importantly, it's that drive that I fell in love with this. And I said this about all the big body cars I reviewed too. These older gen cars, they just feel something different. And I also driven, you know, obviously the older Honda Accords, the TSXs, so I really appreciate what these older Honda Acura cars have to offer, and I can totally see where this fanboyism for Hondas come from now. They really did make some really awesome cars back then, and they still do, but it's just not the same, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of where I stand on this TL. You know, if you want to purchase this vehicle, it is currently still located at Carry Imports, so if you want to buy this, it's like $4,500. It's still like 175,000 miles on it. If that interests you, it's here. I'll leave all their information down below. And since you've made it to the end, because you're still watching, of course, I'm humbled by that. And if you're new, please consider subscribing, of course. And if you want, you can also become a Patreon member. Not required, but I will post the link below if you want to help facilitate some of the costs of making these reviews, basically. But with that, that pretty much wraps up this review. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Goodbye.